Hello and welcome to today's lesson on naturalization in the United States. Most people that are citizens of our country kind of take it for granted. So today we're going to talk about the ways that most Americans become citizens if they aren't already, or the process of just being a citizen if you are born here. So to start with, what we're looking at is citizenship and the rights and duties that are established by law. Throughout this lesson, you're going to be able to describe the process of naturalization and also the role that the federal government plays in immigration law. And I want you to think about how you become a citizen and what role the federal government plays in immigration law. First of all, basically there's two ways to become a U.S. citizen. Number one is simply by birth, the act of being born in the United States, so the law of soil, or both of your parents being the United States citizens, the law of blood. Or one parent is a citizen and meets certain requirements. So if one parent's born a citizen and you are born to that parent, you can have citizenship here. Most Americans that would take it for granted fall under citizenship in this manner. The other way to become a citizen is to complete the naturalization process, and that's going to be the focus of this lesson today. Naturalization simply means to become a legal citizen of a country you were not born in. So today we're gonna take a look at that. First of all, there's a video that I encourage you to watch. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds. You can click into the Google Doc and watch the video. It gives some light into some people that have become citizens and the reasons for their citizenship. So again, I encourage you to go into the Google Doc link and watch this video at a separate time. For right now, I'm going to walk you through the citizenship process. So I cross off the word easy up here because I don't think it's an easy process necessarily. It could be streamlined, and that kind of gives weight to why we have such a big immigration debate happening in our country. But the information you're going to see comes from a pamphlet or a brochure titled 10 Steps to Naturalization that was created by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. The brochure is available for people as a way to kind of streamline the process. So, to start with, step one in this process is to determine if you already are a U.S. citizen, if you don't know. So there's some simple questions. Number one, were you born here? If you are, you're a citizen. Number two, is at least one of your parents a U.S. citizen? If you have a parent that is a U.S. citizen, then you could be a citizen. You also may be eligible for dual citizenship if you meet certain requirements. And I'm not going to get into that part of it today, but if you have a parent that happens to be from a foreign country and another parent from the United States, you can apply for dual citizenship and be a citizen of both countries. But if you answer yes to either questions 1 or 2, you are probably a U.S. citizen. If you answer no, you can go on to step 2 and continue the process of becoming a citizen. What you see over here is just a political cartoon by Dan Baer that was from 1893 actually, printed in Cosmopolitan magazine. And it just says it's the company's rule that passengers must leave their citizenship with the gate man. So people coming to this country should leave their citizenship there. So just a funny take on historical immigration as we apply it to our current immigration here. So okay, so step 2. If you know you're not a citizen yet, then here's the process. So are you 18 years old? You have to ask yourself that question. Have you lived in the United States for 5 years, or if you're married, 3 years? If you need further help, you can refer to the M476 form, which is linked. The M476 is available to you and from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and you can look through this form to decide if you need to go further there. Next, let's scoot back here, go back to full screen. All right. So if you answer yes to both of those questions, number 1 and 2, you're 18 and you've lived here for 5 years, you can go on to step 3. Step 3 is kind of the naturalization application. You prepare your form N400, which is linked here, and this is available in the Google Doc as well. But the N400 is really your immigration package information. It's the naturalization application. You have to have 2 passport-style photos taken, and then you complete and review your application materials with all your required documentation. You will have to provide proof of a green card and or a work visa to the United States Immigration and Citizenship Services. Step 4 then is to submit your N-400 form. This is the big form that immigrants that want to become citizens must do. By clicking a link, you can check your application status. Again, and all this stuff is available through the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services website. So you can, through this website, check out what exactly your citizenship process is going through. So all of this information is available for you on the U.S. government Citizenship and Immigration website. So it's very handy. You also maybe need to include biometric service fees to the FBI, where they will take your fingerprints and document you. If you're applying for a medical exemption to the English and civics test, you're going to have to fill out the form N648, which is also linked in the Google Doc. Next, you have to go to your biometrics appointment if you don't already have done this. You're required to have a background check, and then at your biometrics, they're going to take your fingerprints, your height, your weight, and take care of that for you. Once that is done, you will go to your interview, and at your interview for naturalization, you have to bring your notice that you have to have this appointment. You're going to be asked questions based on your N-400, and then the big test. And it's actually two tests. You're going to take an English test based on your understanding of the English language, and then secondly, you're going to take a civics test. Now, people get scared and think that the civics test is some 100-question test. Really, they give you 100 questions to study from, and you have to answer 10 of these questions, and of those 10, you have to receive a 6 out of 10 on the test. So it's not this big scary thing, but it's basic knowledge about our country and some of the historical things that make us Americans. So you can take a look at that by linking here in the Google Doc. But if you received a medical exemption based on your form N648, you may not have to take those tests, but a lot of people that do become citizens must take those. If you pass the interview and tests, you can move on to step 7. If your interview requires further documentation, you kind of get stalled within the process, and then you can return in 60 to 90 days to redo the process. Step 7. Option 1, your form is approved, you've passed your tests, you're one step closer to citizenship. Option 2, the N-400 is denied for whatever reason. You can file an N-336 to request an appeal, and you can reapply, but it's going to take a much longer time. So if you do everything correctly, and a lot of immigrants do, you'll be approved at this process and begin the next step toward becoming a 100% American citizen. Step 8. Once you've been approved, they will give you your notice that you are going to take the oath of allegiance to becoming a United States citizen. Once you get that notice, you'll report to the designated location. You'll complete the form N445, which is your notice of naturalization oath ceremony, and you will turn in your permanent residency card to the person that is the official at the designated location. You'll take your oath, and then you'll receive your certificate of citizenship. And finally, the next part in the citizenship process is to do what every American is expected to do, which is understanding what it means really to be a citizen. Millions of people are Americans and citizens, but far fewer truly exercise their citizenship by exercising their fundamental rights and responsibilities. So you do have an obligation as a person of our country to know your rights and exercise your responsibilities by participating in your local community, in the democratic process, obeying laws, serving on juries if needed, serving our country if needed, paying taxes, participating in your community, and in those basic items, and voting being a very key aspect of that as well. So, so step 10 really is just an ongoing step that's never finished, which is finishing the work of being an American citizen, which is a constant process, as Benjamin Franklin noted in his quote, indicating that our republic is a constant work in progress. So finally, and that should take you through the entire citizenship process. The final step then is what's the federal government's role in this? States don't enforce immigration law or create immigration law. It's the federal government's job. So basically the federal government's role is everything in the immigration process. The U.S. government has to monitor immigration, as noted in the Constitution. The Department of Homeland Security oversees both legal and illegal immigration, and you can view the links below to learn more about that. But basically, the Department of Homeland Security's job is to make sure that border security is enforced. If the federal government is tracking individuals that are suspected of illegal immigration, there are steps that we can follow to ensure just action. And you can read the federal government immigration overview that is linked here in the Google Doc presentation, and the section on verifying identity to learn more about that. But basically, there is border security measures that must be enforced by the Department of Homeland Security to enforce immigration law. But ultimately, it's the job of citizenship website that you've been viewing to take care of helping people become citizens. But it's the Department of Homeland Security's job to make sure that those that are not becoming citizens the appropriate way get dealt with in a manner that's legal and just. So this concludes the lesson on becoming a United States citizen in 10 easy steps, I would hopefully say now. Really the process seems scary, but if you break it down, it really isn't that tough. So now you can move on to activity 3.2.